everybody, Sam Heine here. Hope everybody had a great week. Welcome to another episode of Street Talk. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This week I went down to the Portland neighborhood and talked to none other than Gill Holland, a man that really does not need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He just ran for lieutenant governor alongside Adam Edlin. In the Democratic primaries, he bowed out a little bit early, lost to Andy Beshear, but they ran a great race and really started a progressive conversation around the city and left it in a better place because of it, I think, in terms of the conversations that they started to stir up. He's a renowned movie producer. He's a real estate developer and really was the guy that started the conversation and the transition in NuLu and turned that into what it is today. And now he's turned his efforts toward the Portland neighborhood, and he's trying to do the same things down there. Really historic part of town, one of the oldest parts of town, originally one of the largest parts of town in Louisville. And so he's trying to capitalize on that great architecture, that great story behind the streets, and turn around a part of the West End that's slumping a little bit and infuse a lot of great conversations, dollars, energy into that, try and stimulate it on the commercial side, build it back on the residential side, and he's doing a great job. And so I went down and got the inside scoop from him. You guys are going to get the inside scoop as a byproduct of watching this, so I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you have any questions, inquiries, curiosities at all about real estate, feel free to reach out to me as always. My number is 502-500-6469, or shoot me an email at sam@familyrealty.com. I'm happy to help you out in any way. So without further ado, hope you all enjoy the interview.
What's going on, everybody? Sam Heine here. Welcome back to another episode of Street Talk. It's a new week. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And this week we were in the Portland neighborhood with none other than Gill Holland, Mr. Portland himself. And he's a renowned movie producer. He's had his hands all over the NuLu transition over the years. He's a real estate developer, and now he's transitioning over to the Portland neighborhood, looking to do the same thing. And he also just ran for lieutenant governor alongside Adam Edlin, and had a great race and lost out to Andy Beshear, but I think left the city in a better place because of it.
First of all, welcome to what we call kind of colloquially the Portland Stroll District. We're here at Portland Avenue and 26th Street. You see a couple third-generation family-owned businesses behind us, Shaheen's and Jane's Hardware. This is a bustling corridor. My office is right in front here, the old Boys and Girls Club, the old Salvation Boys and Girls Club building. We got Portland Christian School over here to my right as well. And we've been over here about 6 years, part of a 10-year plan and kind of a 4-part plan. And you'll see during the course of this chat, you'll see a couple of the other spots in Portland that we're focused on. But, we're really working to revitalize this super historic former sister city to Louisville. If you know your history, in 981 miles of the Ohio River, there's only one naturally occurring obstacle, and that's the 350 million year old Devonian or Ordovician fossil beds known as Falls of the Ohio. So in the old days, the Ohio was like 600 feet wide and dropped about 25 feet. And then in the early 1800s, they decided that we needed a canal. And one of the amazing stories is that Abraham Lincoln, one of his first paid jobs as a teenager, was digging on the Portland Canal.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Wow.
So, Portland's also historic. It was, Henry Clay, Kentucky's great statesman, the great compromiser. He was one of the early developers of the Portland neighborhood. There's about 1,400 acres, and legend has it that he either won it or lost it in a poker match.
Wow.
There's a lot of great stories in the Portland neighborhood. So it was a sister city to Louisville. People would have to get out of the boat in Louisville, portage around to Portland, and then go back downstream. And then, it had some challenges over the last 8 decades since the Great Flood of 1937. And Kevin Shaheen, behind us, he has a great story of his grandfather on the roof in a lawn chair with the shotguns because looters were coming down Portland Avenue in boats because the water was higher than our heads.
Yeah.
In the 37 flood. Yeah. And then obviously, folks went off to World War II, so a lot of the buildings didn't get fixed up. And then 1945 was the second biggest flood in Louisville history, which nobody even talks about anymore because the 37 flood was so bad. And then a lot of folks with money decided to leave the neighborhood. And if you think about how Louisville's development happened, whether it be Prospect or Northfields or PRP, it was lots of folks with money leaving parts of West Louisville. And by the time the city leaders got together got together the wherewithal to build the flood wall. That was late 50s. Most people had already planted roots in other places. So a lot of folks didn't come back. And then we obviously had redlining, and we had the highways come in. We had a flight to the suburbs. So now it's time. Over half the buildings in Portland are over 100 years old. There's great history, great stories, and so we're excited to be here.
Yeah, very historic, and like you said, the architecture, I mean, you can kind of see it driving down any strip in Portland. It just really holds up well still today. And I guess going back to your NuLu days, whenever you were, trying to attract some investment dollars on the business side and on the residential side, back at that point, people were probably looking at you kind of a little crazy, like, oh, it's never going to work. And looking at NuLu today, it'd be hard to get a square foot. It's so competitive down there.
Yeah.
So do you kind of see it, like, what do you see traction-wise in terms of businesses coming to join you down here, residents coming to join you down here, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the exciting thing is, obviously we learned a lot in NuLu. NuLu is the area between downtown and Frankfurt Ave and Bardstown Road, and this part of Portland is the area between southern Indiana and downtown. So it's similar in that way. There's a lot of traffic coming through, similar in that way. Historic neighborhood, historical buildings, similar in that way. There's a lot more residential, a lot more folks living in Portland. Clarksdale had been torn down before I moved to Louisville. So there wasn't that much residential left in that East Market corridor, but East Market Street had more 30,000 cars a day, going down it, as opposed to about 9,000 here. So there's more visibility, but it was very challenged. And also, those big buildings need a lot of money, whereas Portland, there's a lot of small shotgun houses that are much more manageable and doable on a lower budget.
Yeah.
So you can kind of have some impact for not as much money required, because the buildings are simply smaller. So, we call it urban acupuncture. We try to go by the historic building or the building on the corner or the culturally significant building and bring it back. And there's just, there's 1,400 vacant abandoned properties, so that's about 1 in 4, 1 in 5. So there's lots of opportunity to fix up underutilized structures, vacant abandoned properties. And so we can do that, and nobody needs to be displaced. We don't want that to happen. So we don't have any of the kind of negative aspects of gentrification that you see in other cities. But we have great folks moving to the neighborhood. We need more people. We need 1,400 families. If we get one family a week, it'll take 26 years just to get back to the 1936 pre-37 flood density. So we're just trying to attract more people, more startups, more nonprofits, folks that are maybe already working in the neighborhood but don't actually have a physical presence. We call it intentional officing. The preacher who runs the table, Larry Stess, who lives right over there, he moved over here in the 90s, calls it intentional living. So we've kind of stolen that. So we call it intentional officing. And so we moved our office over here, and there's over 100 businesses and nonprofits and startups and social service related organizations that have moved over here, and I think everybody's starting to see and feel a real momentum. And we want to build 3 ground floor retail shops with 6 apartments up top right here. We have 24 unit apartment building, affordable housing going in right there. We have the Dolphinger, the historic school building, which was one of 4 Civil War hospitals right there, which has, is home to World Affairs Council and Interfaith Path to Peace and Sister Cities and Community Connections and the Onshaw Project and Squalus Puppeteers, and then a bunch of cool artists as well. So so this is kind of the main drag, the historic Portland Stroll District, and I was thinking now maybe we should go over to the Warehouse District.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All right, so here we are, folks, down in the Industrial Warehouse District of Portland. Gil took me on the tour. I guess, Gil, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about where we're standing right here and what it meant to the original version of Portland.
Yeah, so you can see these great warehouses between 1860, 1900, used for everything from tobacco to hemp to kind of rope canvas that was made out of the hemp, and then a lot of storage before things would go down the river. So they've been used for storage for the last, I don't know how many decades, and we are presently working on a plan to convert these into apartments, second, third, fourth floor, maybe offices, second floor, and then some kind of maybe ground floor retail. So, the great thing about Portland is Portland has this great history We don't need to come up with some, new term like NuPo or anything silly like that. It's just Portland. So this is the Portland Warehouse District, and that's 15th Street. So 14th Street would have gone right here. The design terminal is right in front of us there, and then Waterfront Park Phase 4 will basically kind of end right here with this beautiful old brick walkway. So a lot of history right here in the old Portland Warehouse District, and I personally see this being a great place for a restaurant, outdoor seating, and you can look at the city right there.
Absolutely, you've got the nice skyline in the backdrop there. Cool. No, it's very, just again, the historic architecture and the design of these buildings, it really stands out, and clearly there's a vibrant sense of community that the businesses down here already have kind of created, and Heine Brothers is right up the road, and Cellar Door Chocolates is moving in.
Yeah, we're excited about Cellar Door Chocolates, and then Heine Brothers is, one block as the crow flies that way on the corner of 13th and Main, and then we'll have a nice announcement in about a month about a restaurant going into the old garage at 13th and Main. We've got the JCTC, KCTCS, the Mercedes-Benz training facility, the engineering training facility in tandem with Mercedes-Benz. So that's right there at 13th and Rowan as well. With Waterfront Park, hopefully the city's budget issues won't prolong that from happening for too long. So a lot of great history here. If we could open the K&I Bridge further down back to pedestrian and bike traffic, can you imagine we could have this bike loop, the Big Four, down the Greenway in southern Indiana, come back over the K&I, connect to the Louisville Loop, to the Waterfront Park. That would be one of the greatest bike loops in America. So there's lots of great kind of long-term plans that we're working on. Right now we're just trying to fix up these old, this is kind of like the Tribeca or the Dumbo or the Gulch of Louisville right here.
Yeah, really cool. And I know you just rattled off so many cool developments that are coming to the area and plans that you have, but I guess just for the audience, what are just a couple to 3 things developmental-wise to watch over the course of the next year that are really coming up that you're excited about?
Right, so we're building a 24-unit affordable housing, working with the Housing Partnership and Kentucky Refugee Ministries potentially. So that'll be one of the first kind of new major constructions in the Portland neighborhood, besides the Family Dollar and the dialysis clinic in the last 10 years. So that's a good sign. Obviously the Heine Brothers, the Cellar Door Chocolates, and then we have room for one more tenant over there. That's exciting. We're trying to raise, we will be shovels in the ground this fall on a 16-unit kind of micro apartments. We're thinking it will be perfect for the University of Louisville students that are at the U of L MFA building, and the U of L opened kind of a west campus, if you will, at 16th and Rowan. So that's for their anthropology, archaeology, and Master of Fine Arts programs. So that's very exciting. We had the ribbon cutting a couple months ago. Very exciting new institution of higher learning. We have University of Kentucky has their satellite 2 times a week studio for their landscape architecture grad program. That's over in the Anchor building where my office is. And then we're working on $13 million to fix up this 100,000 square feet of super cool warehouse. Great view over the Falls of the Ohio. And then there's some bigger projects that will probably take a couple more years before they really come in the ground. Again, we've been about targeted urban acupuncture, so we fixed up lots of vacant abandoned shotgun houses. We've filled up a lot of older warehouses that needed a little bit of love, if you will. So, we're all about kind of making the key investments. The challenge is bandwidth issues, asset, there's limited time, money, so you got to really target specifically what you're going to spend your time and money working on, so you have the greatest positive ripple effect. So we're all about, again, that goes back to the urban acupuncture. Let's find the key properties, the key folks to work with, the key neighbors, work with all the stakeholders, and things are really blossoming.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're off to a hot start. The first 6 years has been successful. I'm sure the next 6 years sounds like it's going to be really successful as well. So looking forward to seeing how it all unveils. So,
yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for y'all's time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you next week.